Made for mobility, built for business. That's always been BlackBerry's mantra, and how does the BlackBerry playbook fit into that? Well, the answer is badly, very badly. First, let's talk about software. The BlackBerry playbook is running its own proprietary tablet operating system based on QNX, which in theory works quite well. You can slide down from the top of the screen to get to your system settings, and your more immediate actions and settings are placed up here at the top. You can also place your more important apps down here at the bottom, and tapping on this arrow brings up the app drawer. Tapping on app brings it full screen. Once you're in an app, you can pull down from the top to get to app settings, and sliding up gets you to your multitasking view. Now this is probably one of the most interesting and unique parts of the BlackBerry playbook. Unlike other tablets running iOS and Android that multitask by quick app switching and saving your spot for a period of time, this tablet can truly multitask. When you slide in from the left or right edge of the screen, you can get to your other apps that are running alongside the app you have full screen. As you can clearly see with the camera, the app hasn't paused. It's still running and in its full form. This gets pretty close to desktop level multitasking, which would be awesome if there were any apps worth running on it. With that, let's talk about the weakest part of this tablet software, the apps. The apps on the BlackBerry playbook are few in number and abysmal in quality. The few legitimate apps on the platform are old, slow, and missing features. The Facebook app, for instance, breaks functionality with a lot of things in the newsfeed and is just terrible to use. The only apps I think people would actually look for I was able to find were Twitter, YouVersion, and Wattpad, all of which were painfully slow and haven't been updated in years. Now besides those apps, I was able to find a few moderately fun games, and beyond that, it's all just spam. Over 90% of the apps on the platform were a mix of painfully terrible, non-functional, and spam apps, and plenty of them just didn't work. With that, let's talk about the hardware. Probably the most annoying part about this tablet is the tiny, depressed, and hard-to-reach power switch, which only reacts about half the time. You can also unlock the tablet by sliding up from the bottom of the screen, which would be fine if the gesture weren't so inconsistent. With that, let's talk about the screen. The screen is definitely below average, but it's workable. Although tablets today tend to have bigger screens, because 7 inches is pretty close to what we're getting with larger phones. Now for the processing power, this tablet seems to run the Playbook OS just fine, but it's clear that there wasn't much, if any, overhead. Apps, and even the keyboard, have a hard time keeping up with the taps and swipes that your user will do. And in many apps, such as the browser, performance is pretty pitiful. Heavy websites can take upwards of 30 seconds to fully render, and once they do, navigation is still slow. Beyond that, the cameras are serviceable, but the battery life was pretty abysmal. Rarely could I get more than 2 days of standby time, and I could only muster about 3 hours of screen on time at max, which is less than half of other tablets. And now, it's time to wrap this up. The BlackBerry Playbook software has a lot of good ideas that are executed poorly. And then besides that, there isn't really much positive to say. The App Store is filled with terrible apps, the performance is terrible, and the battery life is atrocious. If you're thinking about buying this tablet, just do yourself a favor and don't.